My name is Don Coyes. I'm the president and founder of White Bison, which is located in Colorado Springs. In the mid-90s, the elders instructed us to build a hoop of 100 eagle feathers. And by ceremony, they put into this hoop of 100 eagle feathers 4 powers. First was the powers to forgive the unforgivable. Second was the powers of unity. Third was the powers of healing. And fourth was the powers of hope. And then what they said was that this hoop would go to communities to help with the healing. In 2015, we took this hoop to Edmonton, Canada to visit there with a women's prison. And while we were there, they told us the story of the missing and murdered women of Canada. When their story was done, the elders asked us if they were able to put an eagle feather on the hoop of 100 eagle feathers. So by ceremony, they took and they put a hoop that represented the missing and murdered women of Canada as a center feather on the hoop. We left Canada and we came back to the United States. And what we found out is the same issue they had with the missing and murdered women of Canada. We had the same problem here in the United States. And we found out it's not just the urban communities and not just the reservations, but all throughout Indian country.
White Bison and the Well-Briding movement chose to make a documentary in collaboration with an intern from our university, with the help of the families who've been affected by murdered and missing Indigenous women. The families agreed to help in an effort to raise awareness to prevent this issue from happening to others. Although over the last decade, awareness of this national issue has increased, more must be done on all levels to stop this. The first step is recognizing and acknowledging this issue exists in the United States.
When a woman goes missing, we don't look at it like we should be looking at it in our communities, that it's an issue. She's missing. There's a window there that something needs to be done so she could be found right away before something tragic happens. And a lot of times, so many times, that does not happen. And what happens is eventually she's found dead. And there's stories after stories, and working with our membership in our tribal communities, there's stories that come up with that somebody goes missing, she goes missing, oh, maybe she's just out partying, she'll come back, or something to that effect, something doesn't kick in, and then she's eventually found dead. I've been in this work for 8 years now, and I do this work because that education piece is really important to me, that awareness piece, and it really needs to be done. So to me, if we can educate one person, about the violence, about keeping safe, about all that stuff, then that's why I stay in this work. I think, when we say 1 in 3 women were affected by this, and it is true, that there's 1 in 3 women. I have heard somebody say before, well, I want to meet the other 2. Can you show me them? Can we show the other 2 women that are not affected by this? No, I think it's more than that, but those are just what we have written down as statistics, but I think it's more higher than that.
She's really a caring, cheerful person. She had her, downfall. She had bipolar, but she'll have a tantrum every once in a while and stuff. But she's pretty, happy person, and she's caring. She cares about people. She'll always wanted to feed people, and I don't know. She just think her life was her daughter. She wanted to do things, buy her daughter like iPad and or like a tablet, and wanted things for her daughter. But I told her she needed to work and straighten up because she was hanging around crowds, trying to drink, and I told her, yeah, straighten up for your daughter, and so that's what she wanted to do, and I don't know whatever happened with her, but just hopefully that something will come up. She's she's just a cheerful person, and we were just like friends, walking around, walking down to his my sister-in-law's house, and we were singing. I can't remember which song this was, but we were singing a song, and these dogs are barking at us, and we were just start hollering. Oh, there was that one. You don't treat me good no more, and it was singing to those dogs, and I said if people seen us, they'll probably think we're drunk, or say something around we're high or whatever. I said, but we didn't even care, we were just laughing, and when we come back through again, those dogs were staring at us, so we start singing to them dogs again because she had those headphones on, and just as I said, it's just kind of hard, hearing certain music and everything, it just reminds me of her, and I just never knew she would ever, disappear or anything like that.
My relationship with Emily is she's my brother's daughter, and I knew her a lot better when she was as a baby. As she got older, we kind of lost a little bit of connections because our lives are different. But she you know my favorite story about her is when she was little and my mom was alive, and she I babysat for my first cousin while she went to work, and whenever she'd come back from work, my cousin come back from work, and would, because she breastfed her daughter, and when she come home, that's the first thing is she sat down and breastfed her daughter. While Emily watched her every day, so she started doing that with her baby, wrapping her baby like they did Dawn, and she also um, would breastfeed her doll because that's what my cousin did. And so she told Lucille, called her by her name, but she said, Lucille, don't call me Emily. My name's not Emily. My name is Beaky. And that's my first cousin's name, Becky. My name's Beaky, and this is my baby Don Don. So, that's one of the favorite stories I have about her.
My kids are still heartbroken. She's the one that kept her family together, her sisters and brothers. She was always happy and never fought her sisters. She always get mad at them. Even though they were mad at her, she just let it go until they cool down, and nowadays they still think about her. We have pictures of her hanging up all over, and her dad still cries every time his sister looks at him. He cries. And her kids are always asking, Grandma, so you guys will see her again. She's with you. She's with you, and you guys feel sad. Just talk to her. She's with you, and she has 2 kids, and now she's not gonna see him grow up. She's not gonna see him get married, have kids. She's not gonna be a grandma. Yeah, she loved her kids, and
since she left, I mean, they took her from us all of a sudden. It's just hard. And I hear songs that she likes, I cry. Yeah. I see pictures of her, and I could still picture her smile and her teasing. She always teased. She had a lot of friends, not just in Pine Ridge, but around the Pine Ridge. She had a lot of friends, and her one of her uncles called her box farm woman. Her nickname, he's teasing her, chef's box farm woman. I said, how come you call her that? He said, because I was standing in Porcupine. He said he went to Porcupine one day. All of a sudden, she come up to him and asked him, Uncle, you have a cigarette? He turned around, gee, what you doing over here? He said, he said, that's so. He said, I call her box farm woman. She's all over, he said. So she's the happiest. I love all my kids, I do, but out of my kids, she was the one that was outgoing, and she had a lot of friends, and all the she was just fun to be with.
With my sister, me and her, we had I guess you'd call it a normal sibling thing, because me and her, we would be like, one day would be really cool with each other, and then the next day we're just like yelling at each other, or there'd be days where we'd get into trouble and we just vent to each other or cry, But like with my sister, like me and her, we always kind of fought more than anything. And she'd always say, I want a brother, and I was like, I do too. And I was like, because it would even out the like craziness, because when you have two girls that grow up in a room until they're almost 16, 17, gets very hectic. Like you just kind of want to strangle each other, but then you're like, I love you at the same time, like. So it got kind of hard with me and her. We made it work though. Like we shared a room from when we were young all the way until we were, like in our teens. So for me, it was more of like, I don't know. It was just ups and downs, I guess. Trial and error with me and Hannah.
It was 4th of July weekend anyways. That night, or that day, I worked at the depot, and I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, be at work. No, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, be at work at 5 o'clock in the morning. Work till 2 or 3 o'clock, and so I was pretty tired when I got home. And these were my last words that I ever said to her. I told her that I was tired and she could take her and baby across to my brother's. She said, yeah. I told her, give me a couple hours of sleep, come pick me up, we'll go to the fireworks. Excuse me. It never gets easier.
Well, when we have one of our sisters that go missing like that, and they're found murdered or they're not found at all, then it really affects our communities. And sometimes we don't talk about it the way we should. The healing doesn't happen. It affects our families, not only the family of the woman that went missing, but the other families that are involved in it. And it's a trauma. It's a trauma. It's a wounding to us that happens, not only in the families, but it's in the community too. And sometimes we don't see it as that wounding, that it's affecting as a child. when my aunt went missing, that it affected me as a trauma. It was something that I had to resolve within myself. And when they were planning that event, they were some of the women were putting it together, you know, when they were coming up names, and then they just kept coming up with names. And they were going back further and further, you know, well, this happened to her, and this happened to her, and before you know it, you know, they had a long list of names. And that's really, to see that list of names like that, it's very impacting to know that, you know, where is the justice for this? There is a difference when a Native woman goes missing and a non-Native woman goes missing, and some of our members have talked about that. The protocol is there maybe to go faster when it's state or, you know, in rural areas, whereas when it's on tribal land, then the process is slower. Our logo that we developed for murdered and disappeared Native women, it's a target. We use a target with a Native woman on it, and basically that's what it is. A lot of times women are targeted, not only by non-Indians, but by their partners. So there needs to be that sense of accountability, and when it concerns non-Indians, then, you know, that's a big issue that we've been struggling with for years, is to get that justice on our own lands. And, you know, I had my own personal experience with that when I was very outspoken about a non-Native, non-Indian man being a bully and being a journalist. I was very outspoken about it, and my life was threatened. And I couldn't find anybody to help me. You know, when I went to the police department, I tried to get restraining order, and that's the first time in my life I ever felt that fear.
What needs to be done is that, and I think I see a little bit more of it going on, is that we need to bring more awareness, more education, more prevention, you know, and then, but we can say those, but we need the resources to back those up. If we don't have the resources to get out there and do a lot of the prevention work, because currently, you know, there's like 3 or 4 of us here, and with the amount of domestic issues that we have out there, there has to be more than us to get out there and present prevention measures, you know, regarding domestic violence. So there has to be more of that, and also the resources to back that up. A lot of it centered around the Balkan oil fields. When they opened up, the big boom happened up there. You start then hearing a lot more about missing women, exploitation. All these terms just start coming out of just like it was never there before. And then all of a sudden, you know, it just kind of exploded. You know, when I was in law enforcement, you know, watching this thing, you know, happen about, you know, a lot of the violence that was happening among Native women down here, with specifically non-Indian partners, in that the big thing around that was the jurisdictional issues on how, you know, the tribe and the state and the feds were, you know, trying to address, you know, this jurisdictional issue with Native women. It's not only just a women's issue. You know, there's a lot of factors that are not helping men understand domestic violence. So, you know, so while we do this part over here, this piece continues, the men continue not to get the education, but continue to go on a path where it seems like it's going to be okay, or it's a norm. And I think the most frightening piece that I've seen is that a lot of our communities have become callous.
To me, it's like history. In our history, going way back, we had the Wounded Knee Massacre. So already that was already there. We had the Sand Creek Massacre. We had all these atrocities, the Holocaust that happened to our people, the Native Indigenous people. And so you look at that and you think, they made it so normal. They made it, it was like just an everyday thing. And how many of us drive by Wounded Knee, and how many of us pray? We talk about historical grief and trauma, and you mix that with alcohol, drugs. Today we have meth. We have things that are coming in.
It seems that our ethnic group seems to be at the bottom of the pole there, the totem pole, whatever you want to call it. You know, we're down here at the bottom, and we're less likely for anybody to come in and intervene and do anything about it, unless there's something that comes out that's very tragic, which will bring awareness. But you know, the way I look at it, natives, whether it be in Canada or here, you know, are considered second, third class, you know, way down there. So it's not really a priority.
Lisa, Larissa's daughter, yeah, she misses her mom a lot. And I don't know, I just try to put myself in her situation. I mean, try to think, you know, I mean, she probably wonders, you know, where her mom is and if she, I mean, why she's not coming around, you know. I'm pretty sure she misses her, and, you know, she loves her mom. It just breaks my heart when she, you know, she comes and I babysit her, and just and my grandson, she says, I love you, and, you know, she tells me I love you, and she just, I don't know, I just told her mommy will be back, and I think she thinks she's gonna be back too. She, you know, I don't know what to say to you. It just breaks my heart. But then when I have videos of her and her mom, and showed it to her, and she, you know, she just like she wanted to cry, or, you know, she just trying to hold back her tears or something. But it's just so hard. Wish I had answers. Wish I knew what to say to her. But we went down to the police station, and we were gonna file that missing persons report. But it seemed like, you know, like they were taking a while. And I don't know if they were just I don't know. I just feeling like they're prejudiced or something. I don't know. They were taking a while, so we were down there, and then I called like the intercom again, and I told them, I said, we're there for that missing persons report, and they said they'll be with you in a bit, you know. But my daughter was gonna leave me down there, and I didn't have no other ride, and I told her I'll just go with you, so I left. And here my son went down there, and a couple of days later, and talked with them, and the cops told him down there that it's best that you just go on with your lives. The cartel, or, you know, they have your sister, and my daughter, my oldest daughter, she got out of jail, and she went up to Martinez's with that King Martinez, and then she trying to find her sister, and she tried to walk away from there, and some guys followed her, and she ended up getting raped up there. And when she got in poison ivy, they drug her down in the trees and everything. I told her, I said, what are you thinking? She said, well, I'm just trying to find my sister. She said she would do that for me. I told her, you know, just let the detectives handle it. And I said, you're just making, you know, and she just, oh my God, I was just shaking, and I was scared, and, you know, sending the cops up there. And I just, you know, wonder and worry about Larissa, thinking, I mean, I'm hoping that she's not suffering anywhere, or if she didn't, you know, they didn't kill her. I mean, I don't know. There's just so much things that just go through my mind. She didn't deserve anything that might have happened to her. She just so trusting. She's caring and trusting person that she just put her hands in, you know, somebody's life, and something could have happened. Something bad might have happened. That's what the detectives were telling us. They think that she's not with us anymore, and something bad might have happened to her. They must know something, and they're not telling us. I don't know how long we have to wait. How long do we have to suffer? It's been too long.
When my sister did go missing, like I had a dream 3 nights before she had passed away, and it was a very scary dream. I don't like to talk about it, but it made me feel like something bad was gonna happen. Gave me that feeling of, someone's telling me something. And the night she passed away, I woke up crying. And this still bothers me, but I woke up crying, and I looked over to my husband at the time. I'm not married now, but I looked at my husband and I said, I think I'm gonna die. And he's like, you're not gonna die. And I was like, no, I think I'm gonna die. Someone's telling me I'm gonna die. And he was like, you're not gonna die. And I was like, he's like, you're all right. Just go back to sleep. And he's like, we gotta go to Lame Deer tomorrow. And I was like, all right, because we were coming down for the 4th, And so we came down to the 4th of July, and right when I got to that Welcome to the Northern Cheyenne Reservation, that sign, I don't know how to explain it, but I just felt like my stomach just dropped to my feet. And I sat there like that, and I just started crying. And he was like, what? And I was like, I just looked at him. I was like, and I tried to explain how I felt, like that sickening feeling. And he was like, you're fine. I was like, no, I'm gonna die. I was like, today I'm gonna die. And he's like, you're not gonna die. And he's like, you just need to calm down. So I was like, all right. So I calmed down, and we get back to the house here, and we're getting our camping stuff, and no one was here. And I was sitting there, and I was like, well, I wonder where everyone's at. They're probably already at the powwow grounds, And I was supposed to get my nephew. My sister was supposed to meet me here that day to give me my nephew so I can go and spend time with him while she was getting ready or doing whatever she needed to, And we already had it planned out because me and her had communication way before. And so I was just sitting there, and I was like, I wonder where he's at, And so we went to the powwow and like the powwow grounds, and I was just looking around and set up our camp, and we came back, and then I still kept feeling weird, like, what's going on. But while we were at the powwow, that's when I bumped into my mom at the camp, because that's where we were camping at. And I was like, have you seen my sister? And she was like, no. And I was like, Mom, I was like, I have a bad feeling. Something's just telling me something's really wrong. And told her like what happened about my dream, and like I was just like, Mom, something's really, there's something wrong. And she was like, well, we'll go check, and we'll try to find out what's going on. And it was just crazy because, like, I don't know how to explain it, but I felt something before anyone else did. I already kind of knew.
That night, we were all looking forward to my daughter. She just got married, and we were going to have a wedding reception for her on that Thursday. And she started coming down a lane. She called me on the phone, and she kept saying, Mom, something's wrong. Where's my sister at? And I kept saying, I don't know. We're trying to find her, Rose. And, well, I'm coming down. So she came on down. And in my mind, not once did I ever think that she was already dead or anything, As far as I know, she was just missing. No contact with anybody. Her car was there. So we went ahead and we had a wedding reception for my daughter. And after the wedding reception, my daughter kept come up to me and she just started crying. She's like, my sister would have never... My sister would have never missed this, Mom. My mom, I think we need to go and call the cops and report her missing, Mom. And I said, I know you're right. So So we go down to the police department. I fill out a missing persons report on her. The police officer, he was chief of police, he tells me, he said, it's the 4th of July weekend, powwow weekend. Your daughter's probably just out there drinking and scared to come home. And I told him, no, she's not. She breastfeeds her baby. She's been gone for 2 days. Nobody's heard from her. She's missing. And he said, well, if you feel that she's missing, you guys can go ahead and search for her yourself this weekend. If you guys haven't found her by Monday, we'll step in. The family started the search on Friday night, then Saturday, and then Sunday. Nobody found her in about, it was about 9 o'clock that evening. No, it was about 7 o'clock that evening, and a wicked rainstorm came through, so they called off the search, and then everybody came home. That somebody gave me a number to FBI. So I called the FBI myself, and they were right on it that next day. BIA police department tried to step in. They did try to step in on that Monday, but by then I already had got a hold of FBI, and FBI came down here. So we get a knock on the door, and I get up and I answered the door, and they asked if there was any identification marks. Did she have any tattoos or anything? And I told them that she had her Indian name on the back of her back, on the back here, Imshkihat. And they said, all right, and they left. They found something. Found her body. Where they found her body, we turned around like about 200 yards from where she was found when we were searching for her. Me, myself, I turned around about 200 yards from her and went back the other direction. I realized that she was gone, and so I decided to start looking for evidence, because I felt like the police department wasn't helping me out. We didn't get her body back till about the 13th, maybe. She was so decomposed that they couldn't find no evidence on her. It was over 100-degree weather Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. She was just so decomposed that it was her tattoos that identified her, probably her teeth. In the meantime, this couple runs to North Dakota, and I started getting mad. I started getting pissed because I was doing this all on my own. So I decided to do a walk, and I called Q2 News up because they were the only ones that came down, tried to help me out. So we marched from the from the BIA to the tribal building. At the tribal building, I was telling everybody, this needs to stop in our community. This has been going on for too long. We're tired of being ignored. It's time to stand up and fight back, because I didn't want killers running free on our reservation to go and harm other people again. And then from there, people started getting a hold of me, telling me, my daughter died, and 1970. It hasn't been investigated, you know, and there's certain people started calling, and we started writing all these people's names down, and we let the community members know if they wanted to walk for their loved ones that have died of tragic death, murdered, or missing. And the response was huge. I couldn't believe it. All these people came out and they all walked with us because we all wanted justice. And from there, it turned from just Hannah to everybody, to the community. I just felt for everybody.
If you look back in history, we really had some strong grandmothers, very strong. I mean, in me, I carry the strength of grandmothers that went through so much and they survived, you know, and I know them. I know them because I went to discover them. I went to look for them and find out their names and what they did and to see what exactly they went through in history to be able to, that I'm here because it's from them that I came from. Because I was born from my mother, and my mother was in my grandmother. So my great grandma, I was in my great grandmother, and so that strength came from that survival. We were able to keep giving, and that's a gift, a precious gift that we have. You know, we're able to keep giving into our descendants, and we have our children, and so we give back in that way. So that's in a sense why we're considered sacred. So we hold on to that. And our ancestral grandmas were targeted. And even after I'm gone, it's probably going to still be there, you know. It's an issue that's there, but you can't give up the fight. You got to keep moving forward and providing that education and moving to develop, you know, tribal laws or get Congress to do policy changes that could better protect our Native women. What's the sayings that, you know, if you target the mothers and when their hearts are on the ground, then you won.
The day she went missing was on the 2nd, January 2nd. She came home in the evening time. So she was there with me and she was playing, you know, like she was their favorite auntie and messing around with them, playing with them. And she, maybe it was about 10. She said she was going to go out. I told her dress warm because it was really below zero. I told her dress warm and be careful. And she said, I'm gonna go see my older sister Belle. I'm gonna go see her. I'm gonna spend the night. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll help you with baby. I'll help you watch him. So I said, okay. I said, well, be careful and it's cold and your brothers are out there too. You know, if you see them, tell them to, you know, stay in and don't be going out because it's cold. So she left. That was about 10:30. She left. So she was gone all night, and I didn't think anything. You know, they're always, you know, that you know how young people are. They're gone. You know. So I waited, and then that Sunday, my grandkids had to go back because they go to school in Pierre, and she said she wanted to be there to see them get picked up and say her goodbyes to them, and she wasn't there. She didn't come back. So I thought, you know, she's still out doing her, you know, her thing and having fun and all that because it was New Year's and everybody was doing that. And so I waited that Monday and she never called me. She always calls me no matter what. And a cop came to my trailer to serve her some papers. And I told the cop then, I told the cop, I can't remember his name, but anyway, I told him, I said, she's gone. She hasn't called me. She hasn't text me, you know, all that. And I was wondering if you guys could like look for her. And he said, yeah. So I see, so where do you think I could look? I told him down to Old Sundance Ground. She has a friend down there that she always goes to see. And so he said, I'll go see if she's down there and I'll be back. And I said, okay. So he left. He left and he never came back to tell me if she was down there or not. And he never came back.
On January 5th is the day that I started sending out missing pictures, posters. And every day I would keep in contact with my sister-in-law here. And I'll say, did you find her? Did we get any answers from anybody? No. Did anybody come and talk to you? You know, a few people came around and said they seen her here. There are bars here. You know, my husband hadn't drank for years, but he was looking in bars for her because she was spotted somewhere that she might have been with these people. And, you know, a lot of tips. And, you know, every one of them we looked into, you know, because sometimes even a little bit, even if it's a lie, there could be a truth behind it. So we looked into everything, even when we were doing all this on our own as our families and friends. And so on the 21st of January, I went to work 7 o'clock in the morning, and my aunt Eileen called me at work, and she told me that a girl went and left a tip with my cousin Julia, not Julia, Julie Richards. And so I asked her what the tip was, and she said it was a guy that had Emily wrapped in plastic and in some water pipes at a blue house at the old Sundance grounds. So I said, who has a blue house at the Sundance grounds? And we thought it was my aunt Emily Lakota. And I don't know, but I need you guys to call them as soon as they open, because it wasn't 8 o'clock yet, and have them go down there and start searching. Okay. And so all throughout the morning, Lucille will call me, you know, they're still down by the creek. They're not, you know, I was getting picture texts from friends here in town, texting me pictures of the BIA, CIs here, the criminal investigators, sitting in their cars, walking on the edges of the creek. One even asked my sister, Jeanette Black Elk's son-in-law, to go down into that, because they didn't want to go down there, on his horse to go look, and he was like, nothing's down here. And they were walking on the sidewalks, looking down. So I called my aunt Eileen, and she put it out on Facebook that was going to do a search. Before I even got there, there was people there. People coming from the district areas outside of Pine Ridge came into town to do business, but came to the search party. The BIA and the FBI said, oh, while you guys are tribal members, you guys can do that. We can't. We need a search. So we went in there.
And then we needed gas money, you know, because my friend, well, actually my best friend, Shannon Longjaw, he had a vehicle and we didn't have a vehicle. So he'd pick us up in the morning, and we made posters, missing person, you know, posters. We posted them all over the reservation. It was below zero, but we went out and did all that for her. And and we were all teasing each other, like, what if we was doing all this and she just walked in all of a sudden, and and I said, oh, she does, I'm gonna really chew her out. And, I don't know, she is, but we had you know, we all had hope, you know, that's all we had.
It was my cousin, Little Joe. We call him Little Joe Hornback. See, we're descendants of people that fought at Greasy Grass, and he inherited tracking skills, and he found tracks. He noticed tracks back in one direction. He followed it. Took him 15 minutes. He found Emily. And these BIA, these FBI, you know, we tell them, we see this, we hear this. They didn't follow up. We had to do it. The healing part is going to always continue. But with Emily, you know, her family are the ones that are hurt the most. And my brother, Balron, her father, Emily's father, he gets really sick because he misses her a lot. And for my healing is helping them, being Emily's voice. Hope, you know, praying that this never happens, not only to our family, but to any family again. And these two that murdered her were on a drug, meth. And that's the enemy. The root of the problem is that alcohol and meth. And so for this to not happen again, that's what I'm focused on. I believe that Emily's, you know, her story here is connected with, you know, the many missing and murdered Indigenous women. Only, you know, because we all rely on the law enforcement. And if they're not going to do it, they're not going to do it for the next one or the next one. You know, especially when it comes to our native people, it's like nobody cares. The CIs, you know, and the FBI, you know, they even told us, oh, those are just rumors. You know, how do you know those are rumors? Explain that to me. You know, I'm telling you, we should know. You don't know her. But, you know, so even for everyone else, you know, how much help do they get? I bet they don't get none. Because we did it. We have to do it ourselves. And a lot of them that I see that are found, I feel bad for the family. We know how it feels. But I hope they do someday start recognizing everybody, not by color, not by, you know, where you're from. Lucille made a comment that time when she was missing. She said, because they always lived humbly. No water, no, you know, no inside toilets. But they have family that, you know, that they get by on. Living here in the poorest county in the nation, not having jobs, not having, you know, what they need. You know, they have to live on fixed incomes. And she said, maybe they thought because we live like this, that nobody would care. Maybe they thought, nobody will care about Emily. We can just do this and get away with it. Well, you know what? We do. We do care. She has somebody that cares. Not just her family, but friends. You know, a whole town that cared.
Tomorrow, May 5th, Hannah Harris should have been 25 years old. But instead of celebrating a birthday, we'll be celebrating her memory.